So I think we're live. We're just going to wait for a couple of minutes for Facebook to push out notifications to everyone.
Sure.
So while we have people joining in, Yash, if you can just take a moment and introduce yourself to everyone, I think that will be really fantastic.
Sure. Hi everyone, this is Yashwant, the founder of Simplify Labs. We are based out of India. We are a networking solution company, and I have a background of 7 years in networking and IP telecom. While working in IP telecom, we were deploying a lot of networks for enterprises, where we were deploying our IP telecommunications, and we found there is a lot of gap where the end customers are not able to invest into enterprise class hardware in their businesses, and this was creating a lot of problem while we were deploying our IP because it was working on the networking stack. So that's when we found this is a very good gap that we can target, and we started Simplify in 2017. And we were Simplify is basically a cloud-based networking orchestrator platform, so which helps end customers use multiple vendors for their hardware needs, and we act as a overall central controller, right, for multiple hardware. So that's our origins.
Also, Yash, with all the COVID situation right now, people moving remote, what is this new trend about? And let's say if a lot of startups are currently watching this, a lot of solopreneurs are watching this, a lot of 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, team members are watching this who previously were very rigid about, no, we just want to build our team offline, right? Like we want to have team physically in the office. But now with COVID as a huge challenge, how do you see this one issue being resolved for everyone? And how do companies and startups start moving remote? And how do they build their entire setup so that they can work flawlessly, just like how they were able to work flawlessly behind the scenes offline?
Yeah, so this is the whole crux of our product as well. So we were also a completely offline, team where we had the 9 developers working out of an office, and we were working like together since like 2 years. So it was a great change for us as well. This beginning of 2020, forced a lot of teams to adopt new things, right? So we would say like remote is an amazing thing, provided you adopt or your business allows you to adopt right tools, right? So thankfully we are into development and it worked out for us. So while Slack and Zoom and other real-time communication tools allowed us to be more present remotely, right? We found it a big challenge that developers were not able to share their files, their code, or directly access their code base. While we were in the office, we had a pretty good NAS server, which was used day in day out, right, to collaborate on. But the moment we moved remote, we had a huge disconnect, right? So the files are stuck in the office, and the only way to communicate with our office is to dial into our office from everywhere. So we found this as a huge challenge, and that's how we started CloudLAN as well. So we have taken a couple of pain points that developers are facing, and coincidentally, this worked out for organizations as well, where they also face similar problems, but instead of file systems, it could be an ERP solution. It could be their CRM solution that is stuck in their office, right? Or earlier when we were in our office, we used to access our secure servers. So we set it up in a way that those servers are only accessible if you're accessing from our office, right? So suddenly this possibility is no longer available for a lot of businesses. So we found CloudLAN to be a brilliant positioning for all these use cases.
So can't I just use something like Google Drive or WeTransfer to transfer my files? Why do I need another piece of software? Isn't it just easy to kind of like just upload things on a cloud, which is accessible to everyone from any corner of the world, regardless, right? Why to build another software to solve some of the challenges that can be solved? How can it be like why CloudLAN in general?
Yeah. So when we are talking about file share, we are talking about not just for personal consumption of files, but rather as an organization, right? So typically, organizations will have like lot bigger size of file storage that would run into multiple TBs, and typically they would not want to move that off their premise, right? So specifically this file share use case. Uh, these are the customers who have like multiple terabytes of data, and if they want to move that off their premise, it's going to be very costly one. And already these guys have invested in a lot of hardware. So why will I waste my investment and again move to something else? So these are and also security is one of the parameter
So
that
don't you
we
think I can use something? I can use something like Western Digital. They have inbuilt cloud server today, where companies can just install that locally, and then that can only be accessed locally. So that kind of like serves the purpose of security as well.
Correct. So we actually support that as well. When it comes to Western Digital kind of a products, so these are again not the enterprise or business class products. So these are okay if you are trying to access some of your personal files. And the biggest problem with these are you will have to download. So these devices give you a web interface, and every file that you have to use, you will have to download them and re-upload them once you make any changes. So that's a painful process that the current businesses are facing, right? So what CloudLAN allows you to do is just like how you are accessing file share on your network, connecting to your network computers, you get the same interface. So you can just open up your Windows Explorer and just type in the whatever NAS IP, and immediately you can access it as if it is right local to you. So that's a beautiful use case there. So that is again, file share is one of the use case. We are more dependent, like focused more towards the developer angle of it. So I run code on my system, and my backend team is running their code on their system, and I have to integrate with the backend team's code, right? So without pushing it to the cloud, earlier we used to just communicate with each other over our
Right.
local IPs, right? So
Right.
we are enabling the same functionality even when they are remote. So that's the whole concept of CloudLAN. So a LAN which is in the cloud, and it works as if it's local to you.
No, that's absolutely brilliant. But I also know for the fact that a lot of companies usually face a lot of challenges with setting up even the internet connection locally in their PC. That is another huge challenge because that's a lot of networking that you have to do. You will have to get bigger switches first of all, with more slots so that you can connect all your wires, and it gets really very complicated. And I think one of like companies still haven't really utilized software fully in those directions. But again, with everything moving towards cloud, I think this has become a bit more of a challenge. But don't you think how this would actually work out in the real case scenario with everything going remote? It would still rely a lot of things on the internet, right? So let's say if your internet connection is kind of slow, while the other person's internet connection is okay, right? In that case, won't you have a bridge and barrier with the internet issues?
Yeah. So that is another big problem that we faced, and that is the reason why we built CloudLAN as well. So before we built CloudLAN, all our because everything is in office, so even our VPN service that we set it up, it was in office as well. So that's when we faced the issues with internet connection. So we have a single internet line that's coming to our office, and it could be power issues, it could be your internet link issues, whatever it be. If any one of it fails, the whole office is sitting idle in their homes, right? So
Right.
that was a very, very bad scenario. So yeah, imagine 9 people just sitting idle just because some internet went down in the office, like, no relation at all. So that's why we started ideating on how do we solve that. And with Cloudland, what we are doing is we are setting up this network that was in your office. Uh, we have moved that to a data center. Now the advantage with that is data centers are connected all the time. So there is no internet problem, there is no power problem. So the network that you have set up for yourself, that is 100% up and running. So what this allows is irrelevant of whatever happens in your office. So if your file systems are there in your office, okay, probably that will go down. But if you're running like a backup application in AWS, right? So access to that AWS will never go down because all the users are connected to a virtual network that's in the cloud. And from that cloud, we have a direct access to AWS. And so all communication happens seamlessly. And only if something goes wrong in your office, only probably if you're hosting 1 or 2 applications in your office, that access might go down for a bit. But again, at least the whole disruption is mitigated with this. So that's a huge win for Cloudland users.
Awesome, brilliant. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to add in the presentation so that we can quickly show people what CloudLAN is all about before we again quickly dive into the demo of the product. Yes, you there?
Yeah.
I think your camera is frozen, I think. Maybe you might want to like quickly switch off and switch on your camera quickly.
Okay. Yeah. Am I back?
No, it's still stuck.
Hello? But I'm
Can you quickly refresh maybe?
Yeah, I'll just do that.
So until he comes in, guys, if you have any questions about remote culture, if you have any questions about going remote or you're thinking of going remote, please drop your questions below. If you have any questions about CloudLAN, while we're gonna demo the product, please do let us know about that at the same time so that we can cover as well. We want to make sure that you take up a lot of good points out of these webinar, even if you whether you purchase the product or not. That always is secondary at pitch round. We have always let you know that, but we want you to get a lot of value out of each of these live sessions that we do. And this is the reason why we push all the founders who are coming at pitch round to share these values so that you can get to understand a lot of these aspects that each of these companies are not just about product, but it's about the value that they bring in, because the kind of challenges that these companies are solving, it's such a complex problem to make your life very easy. So it's you who have to come out there and get your queries resolved. That's very important because it's all about making that progress, but you can only make that progress if you just constantly keep on learning. And anyone who jumps on all of these live sessions and just learns, I really respect and appreciate the fact that you're taking the time out to spend and learn these, which is very, very vital. So Yash, over to you now.
Yeah. So everybody watching us in the webinar, welcome and appreciate your time in learning our solutions. So going ahead, so we would be running through these topics today. A little background on CloudLAN is already done, so we will just directly jump into the app lingo, and we'll just look at a app demo, how the app functions. And then we'll quickly run through a couple of use cases. These are more relevant to businesses, developers, and marketers who are working with their own clients, and they can utilize our solution in assisting their clients. So yeah, CloudLAN is built as a virtual office solution. Nowadays, that everybody has moved remote. It no longer is valid that any business is properly offline, right? So thanks to everything in the cloud, we are already using Gmail and Google Drive kind of services, which have pushed like a lot of traffic to the cloud, but still few things are stuck in the back in the offices. That could be your enterprise, ERP solutions, or your CRM solutions, which you would want to have access. And through CloudLAN, we basically have a method of getting back that connection to your users in a much easier, well designed way, right? So a couple of lingo that is specific to CloudLAN. One, room. So what we call room is a workspace. So when you create an account with CloudLAN, we provide you with a free room. So that comes with the data cap. All the features are available for free, so you can test out the whole product without paying for the subscription. You can invite your team. You can bring in your devices. All the things are connected to the room, right? And then we have CloudLAN IP. So whenever a device or a user connects to the network, we assign a private IP to that particular user or device, with which communication between each other can happen, right? So that is CloudLAN IP. And then we have Team VPN IP. So this is similar to commercial VPN services, where they promote usage of this service, so that you can hide your IP, right? Hide your home IP. So this is also useful to have a secure browsing when you are connecting on a unsecure network. Let's say you're connecting from a coffee shop and all. So you do not want your internet traffic to be tracked by or intercepted by some malicious entity who might be on the network, right? So in those cases, we have a inbuilt VPN solution that is called Team VPN. So what a great part about this solution is we assign a static IP for everybody. So let's say there are 5 users who are part of that CloudLAN room. When they use Team VPN, everybody's internet looks as if they are coming from one particular IP. So this is similar to if you're connecting from your office, right? So all your users connecting from your office looks as if people are connecting from the office. So similarly, even though you are remote, we have given you an option of Team VPN to do the same. And then we have servers. So this is server license. So we have users and we have servers. What servers does is this allows always on machines. Let's say it could be a VM or it could be a physical server running on your premise. So we give you client apps for these hardware where you can adopt that hardware, and it connects to your room, and you will have them always on, right? So, and then while connecting to the CloudLAN network, you have 2 options. So you can either choose with the Team VPN on or off. So those are the 2 options. And then we have adding a service. So a service is an application that is running. So if you're a developer, whenever you pull up a node server, right? So you assign a port on your local machine where the server is running. So we have adding a service is a method by which you are informing so-and-so service is running on so-and-so port to CloudLAN. So this will help in the next part, which is caching part. So likewise, we also have a quick file share feature where you can select a folder and you can show it to CloudLAN, and through CloudLAN you can provide access. We'll run through a demo for that. And then the last part is casting. So once you have added your services that so-and-so application is running on so-and-so port on my machine to CloudLAN, now you have an option of sharing this information, like sharing this URLs with your team, or even you can allow public access to that. So if you cast with a team URL, it will be only specifically accessible by just your team. Versus if you cast a public URL, that will be accessible by general internet, from the general internet. So yeah, so we can quickly jump into the demo section of it. So here we are, okay, first let's go into app. Yeah, so this is the app. Once you download the app from our website, this is the page that you'll be greeted with. Here you will just sign in. Obviously, I have my account signed up, so I can just put in my password. And yeah, so we already have a room set up for the demo, which is called PG demo, and we already have a couple of users connected to the room as well. If you are if you have multiple teams in your company, you would want to create different rooms. You can just create multiple rooms, and they'll be displayed here. You can just switch to that particular room by clicking on it. And yes. Okay, so what we'll be doing now is I'll be connecting to the room. So right now I have an option of connecting without a Team VPN. So this will not change my public internet IP, but I would be connecting with the Team VPN on. Right. So now that I'm connected, Udit, I'm still online, right? All right. So as you can see, this is the public IP that I have got, that I have connected with Team VPN. So if I go to my IP, so this is what my services will see, right? So this is a great part of it. So we will quickly jump into a real-time website demo, right? So I have my colleague who is Kenneth. He's a front-end developer. He's currently working, let's say, on our website. So I would want to see what is the current status of the website. So what I have asked him to do is, quickly just show me what is the current status of the build, right? So what he has done is he has casted a team URL. So that's why it is showing, his internal CloudLAN IP. So this is a CloudLAN IP that is Kenneth's. So he has casted this service, and I would be able to access the website by just copying this link and going to that. Yeah. So this is a website that is running on my colleague's machine that I'm able to access it here. And let's say I have given him some change, right? I would want to change the header to hello pitch ground. So I would just ask Kenneth to do the changes, and in real time, basically without even refreshing my page, whatever changes that he has done to the code on his machine have reflected directly on my end. So in this way, we can be in real-time sync of what's happening between all the teams. So this is an example of just a front-end share, but considering your backend team and front-end team working on, so backend team is working on some API, and front-end team is trying to consume it. So with this, we have a real-time collaboration possibility where if anything is wrong with the API, immediately we can get to know, right? So that's an amazing feature. So likewise, Kenneth, can you also host the public URL for the website? Yeah. So Kenneth has hosted a public URL here. So what happens now is now we get a URL which can be accessed from anywhere in the internet. So I will just copy this link to our chat. You can just share it with our streamers. So anybody can go onto this link, and you will be able to see the website that Kenneth is currently hosting. Right. So this is a great tool. This will help save plenty of time instead of trying to push the changes to the cloud where it gets deployed, and then you would have some public way of accessing that server, right? So we have removed all that channeling, and we have given a very simple method of sharing between each other. And what Kenneth has done now is he has shared a folder. Let's say we typically use this to share our app builds, right? So there is a latest build for our apps, and I would want to access it. So instead of us pushing to a cloud service, what Kenneth has done is he has just casted that one folder on his machine. So I can just go to this link and I can directly access that installer without any uploads and all. So again, the use case for this can be plenty. So this is just an example that we are showing it to you. So you can figure out like a lot of use cases on this. And then next, yes, this is a very interesting scenario. So you are a developer, backend developer, and let's say you are trying to integrate with some external service, right? So working with webhooks is a very big job where a lot of sync up is needed, right? So you run your code, you build your code on your machine, and for the webhooks to work, typically this gets deployed. So you have to deploy the code to your servers so that the webhook can be attached. But what we are doing now is I have this application. This is a very simple application which only consoles whatever webhook reply that the end service sends. So I'm just running this code. Okay. So this code is running on my local machine on port 4993. So what we can do is I will just host this service on my CloudLAN. So I'll just say webhook app, and I'll just give it a URL. So it's running on that port, and with the slug service /webhook. So now I just added the service. So this is what Kenneth has also done on his end. So once I have added the service informing CloudLAN that so-and-so service is running, now I would be able to cast a public URL. So the point here is because we would want this application to be reachable by, in this example, we are working with Stripe. So we would want this URL to be accessible by Stripe. So we are casting a public URL here. So now the public URL is live. I can just do a copy of this, and I'll just go to Stripe. I'll go to webhooks, and I will just say add endpoint. So I'll just paste the webhook endpoint, and I'll just add these events. All right. So now the webhook is connected. Stripe can reach my application with this URL. What I would do is I would send a test webhook, which says so-and-so customer is created. So what you have seen is it has sent this JSON, and it has got a response true that we have received. The application has received it. And if you just jump into console, here we can see that JSON request has been received. So this is typically working with the webhooks is a time-taking process, right? So with CloudLAN, as you can see, probably under 20 seconds, you can set up a new webhook for your local code itself. So you don't really need to have a physical server outside for you to push and work with the webhooks. And another beauty about running it in this way is, let's say there is any code issue, right? With the code, you can directly debug it from the console itself, because it's directly landing. The request from Stripe is directly landing on the terminal. So this is a very superb use case here. So yeah. So next I'll just show you how we can share a folder with your teammates, right? So I'll just go to CloudLAN and files, and I would want to run this on a port all ports and add a folder, and I'll just select it. So I have a folder here which is hosting some files. I'll just select this folder. So now I can cast a team URL or a public URL here. and I can just give this URL to anybody over Slack or Skype or any messenger, and just ask them to download whatever files that are posted on my system. So this is good for a temporary, a quick way to share your files. So let's say you have a huge, size of file you would want to share. For you to upload and send the link, it's going to be a time-taking process. So here we are giving you a very under 10-second method of sharing this. So the end user can just click on the file and it starts downloading immediately. So that's a superb usage there. Yeah. So next up, yeah. So another great use case for CloudLAN would be a secure access to your cloud infrastructure. So for this demo, what we have done is we have set up two servers. One which is running Nginx on this port. I'll just open up this server. Yeah. So as you can see, currently port 80 is accessible from everywhere. So this would be your typical deployment as well. You are running one application on a web server, and your port 80 and 443 are open. Anybody can go and access that particular application without any restrictions. But for you to manage, for you to connect to the server, you cannot give a public access. Now that all your teammates are running, work from their home, you cannot, blindly give complete access to the general internet for SSH access and all. So what we can do here is you can restrict, because we have our team VPN IP. So now this is super helpful in this use cases where you would just allow SSH access to that particular server only from this IP. So okay, let's do this. I will first remove the rule and I will try to connect. I'll SSH to that server. I think the rule has not been updated. Oops. Okay. Okay. So it took for the rule to be removed, it took some time. Okay. So what I've done now is I'm trying to access the server, SSH into the server with the IP, right? But it is not allowing me to SSH into it because there is no method of SSH at all that's allowed. So I'll just enable SSH and I would restrict it to the IP to my CloudLAN team VPN IP. Yeah. Now that we have added the permissions, we can just try to reconnect again, and it lets me connect. So this is a very great use case where even to the remote employees, instead of whitelisting their home IPs, right? So just by whitelisting one single team VPN IP, you can provide access to all your teammates. So that's a brilliant method. So we have another method to providing the same functionality, where let's say this is your this is your internal application server, and you don't want anybody to have access to it. So either it be port 8080 or port 80 or 443, you would want complete blockade of access to that particular server. So let's go to this. So here we are removing all the methods of accessing this server from general internet, and we are only allowing access to this. Okay. So here we are not allowing any access at all, right? So we have this feature called, one second, sorry. So I would be able to access this server through our Team VPN IP. Right. All right. Okay. I'm SSHing into what is wrong. Okay, fine. So here we have a Ubuntu server that is in AWS. Here we don't want to have any access from the public internet. So what we are doing is we are using our feature called servers. So what servers does is it runs it basically connects the end server to your CloudLAN room. So let's say this is your ERP VM. And here we are going through a process called adoption, where I select the OS of my VM. I just run this code. Here it is downloading a server client that we have built for Ubuntu. And once it gets installed, it will ask for a adoption code. Okay. Let's run the code again. So what's it doing is it is downloading the server client. What's happening? Some download issue from AWS side. Everything goes wrong when it is not supposed to. Hopefully we'll get it through. Damn. Oh, what's happening? So weird.
So I have a quick question for you, Yash. While that gets downloaded, let's say that if you're trying to transfer like a very big file over people in two different cities, right? Is it still considered as like a regular download if the files are just being transferred from one server, one person to another person?
Yes, yes and no. Yeah, it's basically we are transferring. It's a peer-to-peer. What we are doing is peer-to-peer transfer. So the
Okay.
file instead of getting hosted on, let's say, a Google Drive, my local machine acts like a
Server.
server. Yeah. So
Right.
users are end user is directly downloading off my system. So that's the beauty of it.
So in this case, let's say that the download speed will purely depend upon the upload speed of the provider,
Correct.
the person who is hosting it, and then the download speed will depend upon the download speed of who's downloading the person.
Bingo. Correct. Yeah. Okay. Hopefully this gets completed now. Okay, fine, finally. So we'll just continue with the adoption process. So here we have a code for this, and I'll just copy this and run it here. Okay, let's do it try again. Okay, I don't think this is happening. Okay, anyways, we will move on to it. What happens is, once the adoption process happens, similar to how a user is getting connected to the room, similarly this VM as well connects to the room. So, like the individual user getting a CloudLAN IP, the server also has its own CloudLAN IP with which the users can directly communicate with it without using any of the VM's public internet at all. So practically, you can just have your firewall completely blocking all the traffic to the server, and only your team can communicate with that server using the internal CloudLAN IP of that server. So that's a very secure method of providing access to your internal system. So this is helpful in cases where the server is not just in AWS type of environment, but let's say you have a server in your office and your office internet doesn't have a static IP with which you can connect back to it, right? So if you have a dynamic IP. So in those scenarios as well, this server feature is a brilliant feature there. So end system, it can be behind any router or any strong firewall because it is connected to the CloudLAN room. All the members will be able to connect to it. So going to the next setup. So here we'll be seeing a scenario where so this is an interesting scenario. So there are a lot of enterprise applications where these are hosted on a Windows server in the office, right? So typically the employees have to connect to a RDP instance back in the office for them to access that application. So what we have provided here is again even in cases where the office has multiple internet links, right? The possibility of connecting back to office is too complicated for non-tech user. So for in those cases, CloudLAN is a very fantastic solution because we would just install the CloudLAN application on the Windows server, and that server gets registered as a client here, and all the users they can just connect to it using this local IP. So they can just turn on their RDP client and put in the local IP of that server, and I can just connect to it. So my password. Here. So just like that, I am I am in a RDP machine which is running in my office, right? So this is again a very good security feature. So if there is any enterprise application that is only hosted on that Windows server, and these guys are able to access it. So this is one thing, and then let's say the Windows server is being used as a file share server as well. So let's say that this folder has some terabytes of data. So a easy way to share would be just go to properties, share, advanced share, and I'm just enabling share for this folder, and that's it. The folder is shared. So I'll just come back to my client, and for me to access that folder, I just need to go to my system and I go to the IP. And here I just need to give in the credentials of the Windows server. And that's it. So as I was telling Udit earlier, if you are using any applications like Western Digital Cloud NAS or some product, so there you would have an interface which is similar to what we are getting when we are doing a file share. So it works practically in this way. So if I have to edit any Word document, right? I have to first download the document. I have to open it, edit, and again upload it to Western Digital Cloud NAS. So versus in this use case, what we are able to do is we are directly opening the folder through our Windows Explorer. So the beauty about it is I can just open any file natively. I can just edit and save it, and that's it, done. So it functions similar to how you have files on your local machine. That's the beauty about this method of access. Yeah, and another great thing is you can just go to my computers and add a network location, and you can add that network. Sorry, map. Yeah, sorry. So you can just add this network location as a. Okay. Oops. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so something is wrong. I need to. Okay. Anyway, so you can basically add this as a network drive. I think I can do it from here as well. Yeah. Okay. Possible. Okay. I need to restart my system. Anyway, so you can have this folder as if it is one of the drive that is on your machine. Okay, so that gets to the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions.
Yeah, we have several questions coming in. Guys, if you again have any questions, please start dropping them in. We'll be happy to take them live and answer them. And we hope you really start finding CloudLAN very, very helpful. It's a brilliant piece of software, very powerful at the same time, and it can solve a lot of your local integration, local data sharing problems, and a lot of collaboration problems, which apparently isn't possible otherwise for you to solve. The only other option is to either get a team viewer or get a Zoom application, go over through things, share your screen. But imagine if you were to deal with like 3, 4, 5 members of your team, like this would get very challenging. So while it's not really a replacement for those softwares, it's a great addition or complement to those software that you're really using right now. Because again, tools like these you won't really find out there much available on the internet, and the ones that really do are very buggy. They hardly work, and that is kind of like another challenge that you would find. So while it's available on a lifetime deal, you should grab an opportunity. So there is one question coming in already. How does the security works with all of these tunneling? Yes.
So we are using a strong encryption hash, right, to create the tunnel. So practically, this tunnel is getting created from the client to the CloudLAN server. So yeah, typically, that is the whole connectivity part, and all the traffic that is originating from the local client, it is traveling through the encrypted tunnel. So pretty much, that's an industry standard, security that we are providing.
All right. I hope, KG, that answers your question. The next question is from Soumya. She's asking, what if someone deletes a file? Like, what are the possibilities of that? And if something that basic happens, how is that being handled, basically?
So when you're sharing it with this method, where we are casting it as a folder, there is no possibility of end user having ability to delete, because it is a one-way street. So all they can do is download the files, whatever you're casting. Otherwise, they cannot even upload the files to your drive. So in that way, it is a one-way street. So you are secure. But coming to the Windows file share, there are multiple ways of protecting. So that will be typically taken care by system admins who are looking after the Windows servers. So there are file versioning, there are backup systems which mitigate all these file losses. Or if you're a small team, you can just run a let's say a Dropbox, and that backs it up for you if it runs.
Right. So that leads to the next question. Is it something very similar to Cloudflare Teams? the new kind of like application that they've released?
So yes, I was just checking out Cloudflare coincidentally last week. They have an interesting product, but that is more. So how Cloudflare works is they are on the DNS level. So what they can do is you have to host your server behind their DNS. So if let's say my server is hosted behind erp.simplify.io, right? So whenever anybody accesses that URL, the first request that goes and hits is the Cloudflare servers. So they are playing on that layer, network layer basically. So what they do is they will throw a authentication window when I try to access erp.simplify. And again, you have to connect it to your single sign-on. It's a huge task. So we are not trying to complicate things. So what as our name suggests, we are trying to simplify things. We are trying to build solutions for people who are technical, but again, they don't really want to get into networking. Even the topmost developers who could be like super duper on coding side, they hardly want to work on networking, right? So all they understand is like, I build something, I deploy it to the cloud. I don't really care about the networking. Man, you take care of it. So yeah.
I completely understand. When it comes to networking, there's just so many aspects, so many things, and it can be frustrating at times. If it doesn't work the first time, you feel like scratching your head at that point of stage and just wondering what's going on. Networking is a whole different challenge altogether. So I completely understand what you're coming from, and I hope most of the users too, when they were setting up their network by themselves, even setting up as something as simple as modem, right? It can become a challenging task if you aren't sure what you're doing, right?
Oh, yeah.
It could be something very simple which might only take 5 minutes, but again, the learning curve is a lot to complete and accomplish that task in 5 minutes versus just launching CloudLAN and just get going, right? It doesn't get very complicated. It's very simple to use with a simple UI, and that kind of like makes the big difference. So I hope that sort of like answers your question as well, KG, with regards to how it really differs from Cloudflare, and Soumya, how it is sort of different in terms of handling things. You also had one more question with regards to is it similar to Google Drive? No, it's not really similar to Google Drive. The purposes are very different. There can be one case study or use case that could be similar, which is kind of like sharing the files, which is what Yash was explaining earlier. So you'll always find that with any software, there can be a possibility of one or two features overlapping with each other. They are probably trying to solve the same problem, but in just different ways. So now it's up to you whether you want to upload the whole file on Google Drive and then share, or you just connect with each other and quickly just share on peer-to-peer, right? So let's take an example that Google Drive, usually what happens with Google Drive is they also limit your bandwidth speed when you're downloading. Even if you have a very high-speed internet, and if you want to download a 10 GB file, right, it's not going to be quick. Versus with peer-to-peer, it will come down to the download speed of your bandwidth provider. So if your bandwidth provider allows you to download at even 50 GB, and provided the other person is able to upload the data at 50 GB as well, then boom, your files are transferred instantly versus waiting for each other. So that's basically the difference between Google Drive. But if you want to host it on a cloud, then at that point, CloudLAN is not really the kind of server that you need, because then that goes into the cloud storage space. CloudLAN is built for collaboration and local file transferring, which is pretty quick. This is really very handy for remote teams, and at the same time, if you go back even to the offices right now, you will see that networks are built on intranet. But with there is another complications going on with the whole internet thing, where people have started using shared offices like WeWork and other local offices as well. That is again shared offices. So now the challenge with that is you don't get access to the internet. You only get access. You don't get access to the back end of the internet or the local access to the internet, except for the Wi-Fi password, right? Or maybe just a LAN wire. So it becomes very difficult for you, unless and until you are a geeky. It will be a nightmare of a challenge for you to set up that internet, right? Instead of spending the next 4, 5, 7, 8 hours of your life, right, where time is really money, you can just buy CloudLAN and you really utilize it for your benefit at that point stage and save all this time and hassle and just focus on what you're really good at. And this is where SaaS and softwares are really very handy. It helps you to save that time. So you don't have to learn everything. You don't have to do everything. You just need to focus on what you're really good at. So I hope, Soumya, that kind of like answers your question in terms of the main difference between using Google Drive and using CloudLAN. So let me see if there are any more questions. Because they are scattered across everywhere, it can become a bit challenging. So just give me a moment.
And the purpose of CloudLAN, again, it is specific to developers, right? So it is a short-term, quick way of getting things done. So we are not trying to host, be a Google Cloud or, be your website hosting service or anything. So it is for developers. It is for the short-term use. So you would want to quickly share files between your team or quickly, allow access to the application that you're building. So it is more on the instantaneous, work collaboration kind of a tool, not for the long-term storage or long-term hosting service. Yeah. So it is very specific to the dev tools.
Right, perfect. So one last question, Yash, before we wrap up the session. If you can name like two alternatives to CloudLAN and why you guys are better than those solutions, that would be really fantastic.
Yeah. So coming to the competitors, we really have like two different flavors, right? One, you set up a similar, VPN service on your office, on-prem basically. So for that, you would typically buy your, expensive routers or expensive firewalls. But the problem with them is, again, you are depending on a physical location and you are limited by the internet link that you would have in your office. So these are the big problems. And mainly considering you want to be remote, you want to break free from your physical location, you are not doing any, help there. So the second part would be hosting your own system using open source tools and all. So the problem with that, basically, we also started out with that, right? We hosted our own system and we were trying to use it with our team. But the problem with it is not all the users are well educated in terminal, using terminal and type of applications. It's quite complicated. Right. So that is the reason we built the CloudLAN. So ease of user onboarding, ease of use, it should be understandable, right? I don't need to refer to like a crazy handbook to use the product. So yeah, that's where we are basically. So either you go with the complicated, expensive hardware solutions, or try to buy or build your own open source VPN kind of a suite. Which doesn't really help everybody, right? Probably you would be, as a technical person, might be able to do it, but again, your users will be having a very bad experience. And we do have a lot of clients who are migrating from such setup, which they are doing right now.
Brilliant, awesome. So I hope, guys, we were able to answer each of your questions. If there are any questions, feel free to drop them. We can always take those questions there. But again, these are the kind of unique software that we are trying to find for you guys, something that's different, something that's more useful, other than just coming up with another email marketing software, right, which is out there everywhere. But there are bigger problems that founders and product developers like Yash is trying to solve. It's these like nitty-gritty problems that is actually a much bigger problem than just sending out an email to someone. So if this is a solution for you, if this is something that you feel it's going to help you, my recommendation would be at least give CloudLAN a try. Go and sign up and just set it up and see the ease of the software. Because unless and until you see the ease of the software, you wouldn't be able to see how much time it will save you. And if you have over the weekend, just try to set up your internet and local server. You will understand the real frustration. And trust me, when you go through that frustration, you would give up and you would come back and give CloudLAN a try. So with that, we will be wrapping up this with this live session, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Yash, thank you so much for coming in. Kanit, thank you again so much for coming in and handling things in the back end. We really appreciate you guys, and we'll be coming back again with another session with Yash and CloudLAN team. Until then, Have a great one, guys, and happy 2021, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, guys.